hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones.
These are the most powerful storms on Earth.
The water was so high, when I opened the door, it gushed me back.
It just obliterated the islands of the Bahamas.
It's a fight for survival.
No food, no water.
For man.
There are people in life and death situations.
And beast.
There was no way that I was going to leave the dogs outside.
But the total impact of a hurricane can sometimes reveal surprising discoveries.
It almost created a unique natural experiment.
Hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes.
This was the deadliest tornado on record.
The impact can be devastating.
God completely wiped it off the map.
We step inside the disaster.
We were running for our lives.
It hits like a freight train.
And unravel the unexpected and sometimes jaw-dropping total impact.
Believe it or not, some good can come from these monster storms.
A tropical wave leaves the western coast of Africa. 5 days later, a small cyclone develops in the mid-Atlantic. It's named Tropical Storm Dorian. Though no one knows it yet, it's set to become a monster hurricane, one that will have far-reaching impact beyond the storm itself. Across the Atlantic, for most Bahamians, preparing for hurricane season is nothing new. It's something to take in stride.
We were prepared traditionally. You know, I have hurricane impact windows at home, standby generators, so I always have water, that type of thing. I've experienced I think 6 storms. Usually I'm home, usually my house is pretty much untouched. My kids' playhouse sits 6 feet off the ground. It's built out of wood and it has survived 2 prior storms with no issue. So, you know, I felt pretty secure at home.
The Bahamas are an archipelago of more than 700 islands, speckled across 470,000 square kilometers of ocean. An ecological oasis and a tourism mecca.
Beautiful beaches, beautiful weather, great people, great food. You can't ask for a better place to live.
But the very climate that makes the tropics so enjoyable is exactly what feeds tropical cyclones.
The wind speed gets above 63 kilometers per hour. They are called a tropical storm. If they get up to 119 kilometers per hour or greater, then that tropical storm becomes the big daddy of them all, becomes a hurricane. What determines whether it's a hurricane, a cyclone, or a typhoon is where they originate. If they begin in the Atlantic Ocean, they're called hurricanes, and it comes from the indigenous word for storm god, which was hurricane. West of the international date line, then these same hurricane-type events are called typhoons. It comes from the Chinese word taifeng, or typhoon, meaning big wind. Indian Ocean and the Bay of Bengal, they're just called cyclones.
Like giant engines that use warm, moist air as fuel, tropical storms can form any time of year, where the water is warm enough to feed the developing cyclones. Every year, lists of names for tropical storms are created for each geographic region. The names are assigned in alphabetical order as they're detected. South of Grand Bahama Island on New Providence Island,
Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Chela and her brother Alejandro run a refuge for homeless and abandoned dogs.
I came to the Bahamas because I met somebody, and I thought it was going to be my dream, my fairy tale, but there were dogs everywhere. I was on the street taking care of the dogs, at the clinic, picking up dogs. After 10 years, I was given a choice, the dogs or the marriage. And the dogs needed me. I don't think the dogs were gonna find another me. That's what I thought, so I gave up on my marriage and my life.
As Tropical Storm Dorian heads towards the Caribbean, Chela and Alejandro keep busy with the dogs like nothing's happening.
It was in the news as a tropical storm, which we deal with it constantly, so there was nothing to worry about it.
But as Dorian bears down on the Caribbean, states of emergency are implemented, and Dorian makes landfall on the U.S. Virgin Islands as a Category 1 hurricane.
There are 5 categories of hurricanes. Category 1 has sustained winds of 119 kilometers per hour or more.
Miraculously, Dorian passes through much of the Caribbean with relatively little damage. As Dorian sweeps north towards the Bahamas, it's upgraded to a Category 2 hurricane. Along the coast of Grand Bahama, Stefan begins securing his newly built home as his wife heads inland to stay with family.
Everybody in Grand Bahama, around my neighborhood, trying to get plywood, trying to board up the house, trying to get supplies, trying to make their house secure.
As the hurricane approaches, Deshaun messages Jensen, asking him to fuel up their jet skis.
After the storm, getting fuel is very difficult, so I wanted them to be just full of fuel. Usually we'd go out and ride and assess damage by sea after the storm.
After filling them, I could jokingly post on social media stating, if anyone needs rescues, we're here to help. We didn't expect to use our jet skis during a hurricane. That was the last thing which was on my mind.
Little do they know, things are about to change. Monitoring the threat, an NOAA flight heads directly above the growing hurricane and deploys a dropsonde.
Inside, they have sensors for measuring temperature, pressure, humidity, wind direction, and speed. It's like doing a CAT scan of a hurricane. They are extremely valuable in understanding the anatomy of these tropical storms.
Residents of the Bahamas receive shocking news. Dorian has grown to a Category 5 hurricane.
5 is lumping all of the ones that would be winds in excess of 250 kilometers per hour. This is what we call catastrophic. It's really a life changer. A brick home can be flattened. Entire trees would just be picked up and carried like sticks and just tossed like javelins. The damage is, it looks like a war zone.
Warnings are issued to take immediate cover. The police state that if the warnings are not heeded, the end could be fatal. On New Providence, Chela is running an errand when she hears the news.
I went to the vet and they were securing the clinic, and I thought it was gonna be just a tropical storm. I said, no, it's a hurricane Category 5. So I came to the refuge. I told my brother, collect all of the hurricane shutters. We are in trouble because we haven't done anything.
Dozens of makeshift shelters house the rescue's 80 dogs. There's no way they'll withstand a Category 5 storm. Chela knows they need to act fast.
There was no way that I was gonna leave the dogs outside. We dismantled the dog houses, the canopies, the tents, and we moved the dogs inside.
There's no time to waste. If the storm is anything like the Labor Day hurricane, things could go from bad to worse quickly.
In 1935, there was an infamous hurricane called the Labor Day hurricane. This is not just a 5. This was like a super 5 at 298 kilometers per hour. And it was the strongest wind from a landfalling hurricane in history that had ever been known. It totally obliterated small towns in that area, took out trains, took out railway lines. I think it killed about 423 people.
The storm destroyed almost everything along a 65-kilometer strip of the Florida Keys. Those who live on the small islands of the Bahamas can only hope that Dorian won't hit full force. With 80 rescue dogs already in the house, the thought of homeless dogs out on the streets in a Category 5 hurricane is more than Chela can bear. She heads out to find more strays in need of help.
We knew that something bad was coming our way, and I tried to rush and grab as many dogs as I could.
Chela rescues 17 more dogs, but the storm becomes too intense. With 97 dogs inside the house, 79 in her master bedroom alone, Chela finally closes the door.
The wind already was just going crazy, and by the time I had everybody in the house, we just closed ourselves in.
Chela begins to document the ordeal over social media.
Everyone here gets along and welcome their newcomers with tail wags, because they know that they are their brothers and sisters in suffering on the streets. Each of my babies deserve to have loving homes, so please, I am begging to rescues to help them. My heart is breaking that I left so many on the streets. Because I have no more room to bring them.
Chela has some time to post pictures before she loses power.
We lost the electricity around 4 o'clock. The internet, cable, phone line, everything was gone.
Dorian is about to hit the Bahamas full force, and Chela and Alejandro have lost all connection with the outside world.
We can all drown. Anything can happen during a hurricane.
During the night, Hurricane Dorian hits the Bahamas full force. After staying behind to secure his family's home, Stefan wakes up with a shock.
I was sleeping at the time when the hurricane was here. Me and my dog, Coco, that's who wake me up. Because her bed started floating on the floor, and she started barking to alarm me. So when I get out of the bed and I put my foot on the floor, I felt water about that high. I said, oh man, it's down here already. So I got up. When I got up and I opened up my room door, the water was so high, and when I opened the door, it gushed me back.
Stefan and Coco are trapped. There's nowhere to go.
It's often the storm surge, which is the killer aspect of a hurricane. You can survive the winds and the heavy rains, but boy, that wall of water that comes across the beach, comes right inland for several kilometers, can be really very destructive. If you take a cubic meter of water, it weighs about 1,000 kilograms. That can pound and demolish structures. It's these timbers, it's 2x4s, it's glass and doors that get rushed into this water. Lower levels of strong, sturdy buildings are destroyed. It's really a force, a huge force of nature that can kill people.
On New Providence, Chela and her brother Alejandro struggle through the night.
79 dogs were in my bedroom alone. They could have killed each other if they wanted to, but it's like they understood that we were in distress, and I was in distress because of the situation. Everybody behaved.
But the safety of the dogs isn't the only thing they have to worry about.
I always worry about if we have a high tide and we can all drown. Anything can happen during a hurricane.
North, on Grand Bahama, Stefan searches for a place to escape his flooding home. There's only one place to go.
And I walk in the house, coming into the side here, and waste water, going to get the ladder, carry it to the manhole so I could go up. Because my ceiling high, you know. So I had to use a ladder to get up in the manhole. And I carry my dog up there with me.
Stefan and Coco are stranded in the attic of his bungalow. To make matters worse, his cell phone has fallen into the water. He's completely cut off from the outside world.
And no one could reach me, couldn't talk to me no more. That was why people thought I was, dead or, gone,
It's a terrifying night for Stefan, and he isn't the only one in desperate need of help. The east end of Freeport, Grand Bahama, is nearly completely submerged. As residents struggle to find higher ground, Deshaun learns that friends are trapped in their attic.
I told him, like, hey, my jet ski's full of gas. I'm going to try to come and get you guys.
Deshaun rallies together volunteers from his neighborhood. They drive as far as they can before the water stops them.
This is the ocean, a good 200 feet further than when we came earlier.
They unload their jet skis and take to the flooded streets.
It was insanely dangerous, wildly scary. The wind was blowing profusely at this point. The rain pretty much felt like small rocks just pounding at you. Pretty much most of the city was underwater. Most of the roads that you would take, you had to redirect around.
As Deshaun battles to find a route to reach his friends on Grand Bahama, the worst of the storm miraculously passes New Providence.
For the grace of God, we were spared. Some poles on the ground, some flooding, no major catastrophes like other hurricanes.
For Chela, all of their efforts through the night have been worth it.
My love for dogs started since I was a child. They don't want nothing in return. As long as you treat them good, it's mind-blowing. These animals, they are so loving.
While Chela and the dogs are out of the woods, Deshaun and the volunteers are battling unrelenting hurricane conditions on Grand Bahama. He manages to get his friend's family to safety, but the ordeal reveals the desperate situation for many.
I found some young guys outside pleading for help for some people. There was a lady and her daughter just on the top of her car, just sitting out in the middle of the storm. And nearby, there was one woman that had a newborn baby in a styrofoam cooler. When I found her, the baby was staying afloat in this because the water levels, they were in the house. The house water was about 5-6 feet, and a pregnant lady in one house. And so after I saw this, I told one of my guys that went with me to do the rescues, let's clear the neighborhood.
As word spreads of their rescue efforts, more volunteers join in. But no one is aware that Stefan and Coco are still trapped in their attic.
No food, no water, can't sleep because I have to watch the water. I have to stay up, like, doing this. I couldn't lay down flat, so I had to stay like a pose, like a Coco was right there, trembling and wondering what happening too. Why she up here? She trembling, and I just hug her and put her next to me. Man. Bring back memories, man. Bring back memories. Yep, I hold her. She was my comfort. I'm not gonna lie. She was. And her dog, we had her when she was a little baby. I love her.
Trapped in the attic with Coco, Stefan has no idea what's happened with his other dog, Brewster, who was outside when the storm hit. And things are about to get worse.
Never in a million years could I prepare for what Dorian had brought to the island.
Around the world, the total impact of hurricanes like Dorian are hitting in unexpected ways. But on the island of Grand Bahama, as water levels continue to rise, a nightmare scenario unfolds. Late on September 1st, Dorian stalls just north of Grand Bahama.
Typically, hurricanes move at a speed of maybe 8 to 12 kilometers per hour. Now, what happened, though, was very unfortunate because it slowed right down.
Like a cork floating along a river, hurricanes are pushed along by ocean winds. If the winds slow down, the hurricane can stall. In the case of Dorian, it slowed to just 1 kilometer an hour.
You could walk faster than this hurricane moved. It spun around hour after hour and just obliterated the islands.
Dorian stalls for 40 hours, lashing the islands of Grand Bahama and nearby Great Abaco with rain, waves, and winds as high as 295 kilometers an hour. Deshaun, Jensen, and a team of 40 jet skiers and boaters battle the storm in search of survivors.
At this point, we would have had, I think, anywhere from 200 to 300 just random people calling our phones and sending us messages requesting people to be rescued.
Jensen is shocked by what he sees.
One of the rescues I remember was rescuing an infant from out of ceiling. I was able to, punch the ceiling open at a certain angle where I was able to get the baby out.
And there were some people that were in life and death situations, and so that's what kind of kept us going. Just knowing that we were in a position to help.
Still trapped in his attic, with no food or water, exhausted and hungry, Stefan struggles to remain hopeful.
Through all the hurricane, I didn't sleep. I just stayed up for 3 days, didn't eat, just praying and sobbing, all night, Thank God. But I pray, Lord, that, this is the way I'm supposed to die, This is the way I'm coming to die, not like this,
As Stefan's hopes for rescue shrink, Dorian finally begins to move north. And Deshaun returns home to assess the damage.
When I came home, I was just in awe, just like very saddened because, I wasn't sure where to go to next.
Deshaun knows how lucky he and his loved ones are.
A lot of the people that I know, or all of them survived. Jensen had somebody that was very close to him that actually reached out for help.
She was stuck in her roof, and she could actually see the water rising. So we actually tried to go there, but under weather conditions, the winds were extremely dangerous. At this point, she told me she was still stuck in the roof, and she was desperately needed help.
Despite their best efforts, they're unable to reach her. Days later, Jensen receives devastating news.
Some other rescue team found her body in some nearby bushes.
Despite this heartbreaking loss, Jensen tries to focus on the positive and the lives they were able to save.
We rescued about over 150 persons during this time.
It's a very good feeling, very good feeling knowing that you got people out of harm's way and knowing that you survived yourself.
The morning after the storm, Chella makes an exciting discovery.
After we clean up the debris at the refuge, I went to a coffee shop looking for internet because I needed to know what was happening. I needed for my family to know that we were okay.
The owner lets her in on some incredible news. The storm has created a remarkable opportunity for Chella's dog rescue.
He said, Chella is crazy. Check the fundraiser, check the pages. Your pictures went viral. It's everywhere, everybody is sharing it. I never, in a million years, I thought that those pictures were gonna be a sensation. It was insane.
Donations for the refuge pour in. People around the world work to help rehome the dogs.
Everybody all of a sudden knew of my dogs. I was able to send 79 dogs in 2 days to rehome. And pretty much everybody by now has been adopted. That was the good news about the hurricane. It took a major devastation for my dogs to find a window of opportunity to leave the Bahamas. It completes me knowing that I started something and I finished it till the end. And the end was when they found the happiness that they deserved.
As the waters in his home begin to recede, Stefan and Coco are finally able to climb down from the attic. He discovers that Dorian has completely destroyed his new home.
The wall went when I came down. I see this big open bright light. I said, wow. Then when I look around, I see my neighbors, them, and other places, them, their wall down too.
Stefan knows he's lucky to be alive.
Coco did save my life because she was there with me, and I was holding her, and I was crying too, As soon as the water came down, my wife came over here on the family to check up on me, My sisters, my family, all who came over, checking up on me. Friends, close friends, came over. Man, a lot of hugs. Oh, man. A lot of hugs. A lot of hugs. I needed that. You know, but they was worrying too. But they was worrying.
Hurricane Dorian leaves the islands of Grand Bahama and Great Abaco devastated. If the categories of storms were extended at 295 kilometers an hour, Dorian would be classified as a Category 6 hurricane. When storms are particularly deadly or costly, their names can be retired, never to be used again. In a strange twist, in 2020, the committee that makes these choices is unable to meet due to the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic. Because names are only recycled every 6 years, the committee has until 2025 to retire the name. But Dorian will likely be retired. In the wake of Dorian, there is strength and renewal.
You know, Grand Bahamians are resilient. I tell people we are hurricane experts, if there is such a thing.
I took a greater appreciation on life and lived life for the moment.
3 days after Stefan and Coco climbed down from the attic,
KK, you didn't hear me call his name? We started wagging tail, he started coming close.
a miracle, Brewster has found his way home.
Beaming people, we warriors, man. We go for it. Yeah, Brewster. New beginning now. Coming big and stronger, that's all. He's so happy, he won. Let me go, boy.
While the power of a hurricane can be devastating, the total impact can also have astonishing outcomes. As a hurricane ends a drought,
it's a little part of the accounting. It's on the other side of the ledger.
I sometimes think tropical storms and hurricanes are given a bum rap. You know, believe it or not, there's some good that can come from these monster storms. Take cities along the eastern seaboard of the United States. What would they do for rainfall if they didn't have hurricanes? You'd have a lot of reservoirs that would go dry. You'd have terrible drought periods. You'd have not water for irrigation. Wells would go dry. And so we actually depend sometimes on the rainwaters.
7 years before Hurricane Dorian, and over 700 kilometers northwest of the Bahamas, the southeastern U.S. is a tinderbox.
The interior southeastern United States, Georgia, South Carolina, western North Carolina, Florida, those areas were in severe drought.
Northern Florida is hard hit, with 18 wildfires raging. One scorches more than 45 square kilometers of national forest. As the region is grappling with drought, Tropical Storm Debbie is headed for New Orleans when something unanticipated happens.
Surprising twist to Debbie was all of the forecast models projected it to travel west towards Louisiana and Texas. And it did, briefly, and then turned almost 180 degrees and headed nearly due east towards the sort of eastern panhandle of Florida.
The storm makes landfall and spawns 13 tornadoes. The deluge of water undercuts the ground and 52 sinkholes appear in just one county. Hundreds of homes are damaged. When it's passed, it's caused $250 million in damage and taken 10 lives. Tropical storms and hurricanes can often deal a devastating blow. Yet in some cases, they also have a complex relationship with drought. And, as in the case of Tropical Storm Debbie, can cause a stunning reversal to extreme droughts.
Tropical Storm Debbie, its landfall was kind of right around the elbow of Florida and moved right into an area that had been riddled with wildfires for weeks. It had been in severe drought for a period of months before that. Debbie moved pretty slowly, produced a lot of rain all across the whole peninsula there of Florida, and in the course of 2 days ended those severe drought conditions and really quelled the wildfire situation at the same time.
Jason's research has shown that this type of turnaround in drought conditions isn't rare.
In parts of the Southeast, almost half of the droughts of the last century ended because of landfalling tropical systems.
The researchers coined the term drought busters.
What my research focuses on is tropical cyclone drought busters, when the rainfall from a single landfalling tropical cyclone single-handedly is enough to end existing drought conditions in the area affected by its rainfall.
Similar drought-busting systems can be seen in different places around the world.
As far as the rapid transition from dry to rather wet conditions that's associated with drought busting, we do see that in certain circumstances around the world. The South Asian monsoon is an example where the summer season tends to be in a lot of locations in South Asia rather wet with the rainfall that we characteristically think of with the monsoon. The hurricane is a double-edged sword. They're very important components of the rainfall climatology. While this wouldn't be expected to offset the negative aspects, the costs and damages associated with landfall and tropical systems, it's a little part of the accounting. It's on the other side of the ledger.
But where does it lie on the balance sheet when a 350-ton ship is dragged across the ocean floor?
There's no way that a ship can literally just disappear, but it really had.
Florida often bears the brunt of hurricane season, but unlike Tropical Storm Debby, in 2017, Hurricane Irma delivered a different kind of surprise outcome. This one at the bottom of the ocean. Hurricane Irma tears through the leeward islands of southern Florida. The storm leaves 12 million people without power. 90% of buildings are damaged. 60% of the population homeless. 129 lives are lost.
Hurricane Irma passed through Florida, but very soon after there was a second hurricane. Hurricane Maria was literally 2 weeks later that came up the east coast of Florida. Now it was two hurricanes back to back.
Before the dual hurricanes hit, Ian and the Reef Smart team were working in Florida.
Reef Smart creates three-dimensional maps of the aquatic ecosystem to help divers and snorkelers explore that environment in a safe, sustainable way. If you want to know what's going on underneath the water, then you would reach for a Reef Smart guide. In August, we were finishing up mapping work in Broward County, the Fort Lauderdale area. We were mapping about 35 wrecks and reefs. There was one more wreck that was due to be sunk, which was the Okinawa.
A 33-meter-long, 350-ton military tug, the Okinawa, was being dropped as an artificial reef.
The idea of artificial reefs is that you place a structure on the seabed and automatically fish are attracted to that. And it builds up an ecosystem around that shipwreck. So we visited the Okinawa about a week to 10 days later. It was sitting perfectly on the bottom, upright at about 70 feet in a north-south orientation. The fact that it was sitting upright was perfect. And if a wreck is slightly tilted, it makes you a little bit disoriented when you get into the wreck. So this wreck had been dropped perfectly on the seabed.
The Reef Smart team is finishing their Florida work when they hear about the impending hurricanes.
Our first response when we saw the hurricane heading for Florida was all the people that we had met in Florida and we'd worked with, we were worried for them and about, are they able to get to safety?
Soon after Ian and the team arrive home in Montreal and the hurricanes have passed through Florida, they receive some unbelievable news.
We started getting the calls pretty soon after we arrived in Montreal. The phone started pinging. It was some of the dive centers that we had worked with in Florida had gone down and literally dropped off the boat at the GPS coordinates of the Okinawa and said, it's just not there. We're just saying, check the GPS coordinates. There's no way that a ship can literally just disappear, but it really had. I think it took a second dive center to go there and confirm, yes, it is actually gone.
But where could a 350-ton ghost ship have just disappeared to? Aren't waters supposed to be calm under the surface?
We weren't sure at that point whether it had literally been blown to pieces or whether it had just been moved. The thing is that the wreck was very new and structurally sound, so it was unlikely that it could just be broken up that quickly. So the dive centers started doing a search pattern around those GPS coordinates, just increasingly getting larger circles around that point, trying to find where the structure is using the depth sounder, until all of a sudden they ping something that's not flat seabed at 70 feet. They found the structure about 200 feet away. It was clear also that the structure had changed itself, not just the location, but it was now rolling onto its side. It had been shifted around about 100 degrees, so it was facing in a different direction. So this shows where the wreck used to be, lying in a north-south orientation. And this is how it was moved 200 feet and swung around, facing the other direction, and with the mast bent over to one side and the whole ship rotated. The mermaid statue was holding a reflecting ball, but she sits in this bar area where it was decorated with, you see these small starfish and other creatures. The hurricane just tore all of those kind of structures off.
The Okinawa wasn't the only dive site that had been affected by the hurricanes.
For dive centers or individuals that had gone out to dive different wrecks, each one of them had come back and said that their structures had changed. The Ancient Mariner, the whole upper deck had been torn off that shipwreck and was now lying on the side of the shipwreck. Rodeo 25, the superstructure of that wreck had collapsed further, and Captain Dan, the smokestack had been removed.
The 3D mapping work done by ReefSmart before the hurricane gave an opportunity to learn how and why the wrecks had been affected in such different ways.
We started to try and figure out why some shipwrecks changed in the way that they did. And this was the scientists and as big as the team at ReefSmart are all marine biologists, so we were fascinated that we had this sort of strange experiment that we hadn't planned to capture but had. So we'd almost created this a unique natural experiment where we had mapped a bunch of these wrecks and reefs before a hurricane, and then I had the opportunity to map them again immediately after so we could take a look at what had changed. We started asking ourselves some questions about why the Okinawa moved in the way that it did. It was obviously a new wreck, so it had really just was resting on the seabed rather than sort of slightly buried into the seabed, but it was also positioned parallel to the oncoming waves. So as the waves hit, the ship was basically broadside to those waves, which would have offered it the largest surface area, which may have been something to do with the fact that it was moved physically as much as it was. Some of the other wrecks that had been down longer had not been physically moved, because my suspicion is that they had nestled down into the sediment a little bit more. They'd been there, sometimes more than a decade, so they'd almost become part of the seabed. The hurricanes obviously create a lot of wind, and that wind creates waves, and there's also currents that can move the seawater around as well. So I think it's a combination of the currents and the waves that are causing the structures on the bottom to move. It says something about the power of these storms, that they can just literally pick up a ship of that size and move it physically across the seabed. These were storms that weren't even direct hits. Neither of them had passed directly over the wreck. They had just moved the water enough to be able to pick up this ship. You kind of think sometimes that once you're down underneath the water, you're in this calm and peaceful environment, and anything that happens on the surface, you're oblivious to almost. You're in your own little world, but the power of these hurricanes means that the waves and the currents are literally moving things around down there like chess pieces. It's pretty powerful stuff.
With the ferocious power of hurricanes undeniable, one scientist tries to harness the amazing energy of a cyclone.
An average hurricane would be the same power or force as setting off 10,000 nuclear bombs.
Hurricanes, cyclones, typhoons. These deadly whirlwinds can be devastating. But could they also be a solution to the death and destruction from nuclear meltdowns and other energy disasters? A 9.0 magnitude earthquake strikes off the coast of Japan, inducing a 15-meter tsunami. the Fukushima nuclear plant is struck with devastating results. More than 18,000 people are killed and 160,000 forced from their homes. The disaster struck home for engineer Atsushi, and in 2013, he started green tech firm Shell Energy to tackle the problem.
Our life work to achieve all renewable energy society. Our generation have to change for our children, our future.
He wanted to find a way to lower the death print. The death print is the number of people killed per kilowatt hour of energy produced. The pursuit of energy takes hundreds of thousands of lives every year. Atsushi was determined to find a safe, renewable form of energy. But where? His thoughts went to a common weather event in Japan, the typhoon.
In Japan, so many typhoons every year.
These destructive tropical cyclones can pack a hefty punch, with winds recorded at up to 345 kilometers an hour.
These are the most powerful storms on Earth. They are tremendous heat engines. An average hurricane would be the same power or force as setting off 10,000 nuclear bombs. The energy created by an average hurricane is about 600 terawatts of energy. If you took the world's current electrical generating capacity, it would be about 6 terawatts. So think about it. An average hurricane would have 100 times the electrical generating capacity of the world within itself.
But most of the energy from a hurricane exists in the form of water vapor that can't be captured.
Just 1/4% of the energy of a hurricane is the winds.
Yet that small percentage still equates to around 1.5 terawatts of energy, equivalent to over a quarter of the world's total electrical generating capacity. But is there a way to capture that energy? Could wind turbines be used?
I think conventional wind turbine, they are like dinosaur. Yeah, dinosaur. So they have a long history over the 100 years. They is getting larger, but primary design is not so changed.
As the wind industry has grown, their shortcomings have become clearer. Inefficient, short lifespans, large amounts of non-recyclable materials, and health issues are just some of the problems. It's estimated that more than 500,000 birds and bats are killed every year by industrial wind turbines in the US alone.
Often birds killed by the wind turbine. It's a very severe problem. So not good for environment.
But with catastrophic failures of conventional wind turbines occurring at even low wind speeds, trying to harness energy from even a Category 1 hurricane, with winds beginning at 119 kilometers an hour, isn't feasible. Atsushi took a new approach and created the world's first typhoon wind turbine. The egg beater-shaped turbine has no blades and is designed not only to withstand the destructive forces of a tropical cyclone, but also to harness it, while at the same time protecting wildlife. It works through something known as the Magnus effect.
So Magnus effect is known as the principle of the football. When we rotate the ball not go straight. It goes sideways.
On the side where the ball and wind travel in the same direction, there's less resistance. Where the ball and the wind travel in different directions, there's more resistance. This property pushes the ball in the direction of least resistance, the same way athletes use it to curve balls. Atsushi's bladeless turbine isn't just a theory. The first prototype was installed in Okinawa, Japan in 2016.
Our turbine is not noisy. and the bird can recognize turbine. This turbine can prevent the bird strike. Our turbine is not only the renewable energy, but very friendly to the environment.
As the world's population continues to grow, energy demands increase, and the pressures on wildlife and the environment build. One of the planet's most devastating natural disasters could end up offering a greener way to produce energy.
No wonder people are in awe of hurricanes. They just have so much energy, and it's to think that nature can produce all of that energy, I think, is what's revealing.
Hurricanes, undeniably terrifying and destructive. They reveal their total power, both above and below the ocean. Yet sometimes they can also quench a scorched earth, and they may offer opportunities for new sources of energy for a greener future.